Thank you for joining in on today's live stream. My name is Andrew Finney with King Realty Group in Las Vegas, Nevada. You know me as the person that helps you make sense of real estate. Well, in these times that we have the coronavirus and the COVID virus happening right now, I want you to know that we're here for you to help you, whether you just need an ear to hear you, or if you want to share what's on your mind with the questions that are important to you and yours about real estate or mortgage. Joining me today will be Bill Marin with New American Funding. So let's get him on screen so that he can join in too. Hey, Bill, it looks like you're at the home office.
Yes, sir. What's going on, Andrew?
Hey, thanks for joining in. I'm glad that you're able to make it today. So tell me a little bit about what's going on in your home right now. I know you got a family of 6.
Yeah, so, four kids, man, 8, 6, 2, and 7 months. So it's fun, to say the least. It's a learning experience. And like I was telling you earlier, man, it's just, it's kind of that blessing in disguise. You get to spend more time with family. You got homeschooling you're trying out, which is great. And then just doing a lot of fun stuff with the boys.
That's fantastic. Speaking of the fun stuff with the boys, you sent me that link to your Vegas Warrior Kids TV. And I was wondering to myself if that was part of what you and your family were doing with 4 boys. I mean, come on. So tell us about that. Is that something that you're using to try to keep the family, up and going and help them cope with being sheltered in place, essentially?
Yeah, so that's something my boys have been wanting me to do for a while. We've been kind of having the idea to do it, but now just, again, with that kind of that blessing in disguise, being able to stay at home and spend more time with the family, we're just doing that. And it's cool because it kind of gives them an outlet. I mean, they don't even really truly realize what's going on. I mean, they don't understand all the negativity that's going on because we're keeping that positive atmosphere going on.
And I think what you said right there is more important before we start getting into a little bit of real estate and mortgage stuff. Is it's about really having that positive spirit. And it's all about our mindset. I mean, is this COVID thing real? Absolutely, it's real. It's killing people. We know it's real. But at the same time, it's how we approach things and take a proactive action and keep ourselves full of, in my opinion, at least, love, joy, and hope. And it's about what we can do together, because just like you're home right now, I'm at my work office right now. We're making this broadcast to help whoever wants. Hey, Savia, I see that you said hello. Hello. Thank you for commenting, Savia. If you have some real estate questions or something, or you want to share what's on your mind about the coronavirus, please let us know. We're here to listen and help the best that we can. So, I mean, going back to that positive mojo, it's really all about that and having that mindset. And it's what I really loved about your Vegas Warriors TV. I might be not saying it correct enough. But I mean, I watched that video and I loved it because the boys are energetic and you're sheltering in place and you're doing things with them in addition to homeschooling, in addition to helping people with mortgages, because obviously our industry has not stopped. Casual preparedness, thank you. Hello from the Gulf Coast of Alabama. Hello from Las Vegas. So, Bill, why don't you tell us how that's impacting you guys and how you guys are coping with it in your household with positivity and love, joy, and hope?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, man, is because you can always find that silver lining if you choose to, and you just got to have that attitude of positivity, right? But it's understanding to adjust of what's going on. Because initially, we're talking about the family stuff and the kids stuff. We started that YouTube channel initially because we wanted to show people parks and different things to do and all that. And then literally the next week, this all happened. So now what do? We're not going to stop doing what we planned. So now we're just going to kind of adjust and, film us shooting each other with Nerf darts and doing flips on the trampoline and, just fun kid stuff. So I think the biggest thing is just understanding if we all understand that, hey, this is going on, this is real, and we just adjust, you can still have, some positive stuff going on.
So I'm glad that you bring that up. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of the stuff that's happening. Obviously, mortgage has been moving pretty swiftly. I mean, last week we were having a conversation literally 7 days ago, and you were like, hey, Andrew, great news. We're able to lock loans at 2.875 for our clients that are presently in contract. Come through the midweek of the turbulence, what was happening with the market and everything. Then I get a call from you on Thursday. Hey, Andrew, just to let you know, rates are right now hitting close to 4. And then on our call on Friday, you're like, hey, so we were locking loans above 5 and the day ended down 3.75. Then people are hearing about 0% interest coming out of the Fed. And they're like, hey, why if the Fed cut the rate to 0% or 0.25%, why are rates actually going up? And why did we end down 3.75 on Friday when we started the week at 2.875? Could you share some insight with us about exactly what's going on there?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that's a great question, man, because I'm getting that every day as well, except for the last, part of last week. But essentially the Fed's dropping the Federal Reserve rate down to 0%. That does not affect mortgages directly, really at all. What that does is that affects your home equity line of credit, that affects your credit cards, that affects auto finance, things like that. That's the rate essentially that banks use to lend to each other. So that does not have a direct effect on mortgages. Sometimes it can eventually trickle down to that, but it does not happen quickly, and that definitely does not mean the mortgage rates went to 0%. So
yeah, absolutely. It's not the mortgage rate that we're talking about. It was the Fed rate. But the reason I think this is important is like how people think about this. And let's get into Sylvia real quick and answer her question if we can about how lenders and title companies in Texas. I know that we're in Las Vegas. So here's her question. She said they're closing on April 10th. Selling the property and wondering how the lenders and title companies are going forward with the process. Any info? We're in Texas. Sylvia, thank you so much for your question. I can share with you from the real estate side of things. Bill and I are helping another family close, I think probably tomorrow, Wednesday. And we've been closing throughout this entire process. So the title companies here in Vegas, at least, even if they're not in the office, they're sending out their notaries. They're making every option available to help people where they are. Our governor here in Nevada, Governor Sisolak, put out one of the essentially self quarantine or shelter in place for people that can or people that feel sick. But he also said that mortgage, title, and real estate are considered an essential service. So when you're looking across the United States, Sylvia, and including Texas, it's probably going to be the same thing all the way through. Because let's think about this for a moment. If you're a family and you need the shelter in place and you're getting ready to sell a house or buy a house, how can you do it without a house? So that's where we're coming together. Now, I know from here in Vegas, that's how the title companies are working. They're making things happen. They're taking smart maneuvers. They're sanitizing. They're keeping things clean. And they're doing what is comfortable to someone else. So, Bill, why don't you hop on and answer that question from the lending side and what you guys are doing? Because obviously today you're at the home office. So how are you closing loans from your home?
Yeah. So Sylvia, that's a great question. And the biggest thing to understand is the primary thing you want to make sure of is that your loan is locked, that your interest rate's locked. If it's not locked, today's a great day to do that. It's actually much better than late last week. Make sure that loan is locked. And then like Andrew was saying, here in Clark County, in Nevada, we do have essential services and they are remaining open. So you would just want to reach out to your lender, make sure that they still are open. Most lending companies, most mortgage companies are working remotely, as well as title and escrow. The notaries will still have to have you sign with a mobile notary typically. And then it should not really delay closing at all, as long as you're on top of that and communicating with your lender. I would communicate with your lender, your loan officer, your title company, real estate agent more than ever before right now, because depending on their experience level, depending on what they have going on, things are just unprecedented. We haven't seen this in the mortgage industry before. So communication is definitely key.
Hey, thank you for that, Bill. I really appreciate the insight there. Sylvia, hopefully that answers your question. I see DMD Glow. Thank you. I recognize your name from so many other the live broadcasts. Thank you for being here. Always happy to have you. Janice is from California. She says, hi, Andrew. Currently under contract for a new build home due to be completed in May. Can you share how the crisis might affect build dates? So Janice, that's an excellent question. And one of the things that I will share is that here in Las Vegas, Nevada, I'm actually working with 4 families right now that are in contract for new construction. And anywhere with closing dates from as early as the end of April through August of this year. So there are some different builders we're working with. Now, it's been very interesting because here locally, at least, let's say a builder here, KB Home, an awesome builder, obviously nationwide, and they have actually stopped construction and they're not doing different things. But then on Friday, this is where it gets interesting. We're talking about just all the minutia and the maneuvers over the last 7 days. Last Monday, they said, we're stopping construction. We're not allowing anyone into the models except for virtual showings. But come Friday, they sent out an update email saying that as long as the construction workers feel safe and as long as they can do everything safely, they're going to continue to build homes for the people that are in contract. So when you're asking how it could affect the build date, it's anyone's guess as we move forward into this. But what I would share with you is that I'd be keeping in a tight relationship with your trusted real estate advisor, hopefully that you have as acting as your buyer's agent. And if not, then to talk with that new home agent, understand what that builder's policy is, understand what that builder is doing so that you can better understand the process at large. But that's for an example of one of the families getting ready to close that they've already done their design studio visit. Now, with a couple of the other families, they haven't done their design studio visit yet, and they have been told that they will be getting rescheduled, as opposed to having all these people in the design center when we know that we need to be keeping social distancing in our mind and keeping our groups down under 10. So whether they move into a virtual platform of video too, I'm not sure. But right now, a lot of design studios are shutting down. And then D.R. Horton, for example, with another one, they're just marching on just like it's everything that they always do. They're like, hey, this is what we do. We got this. We're going to be smart about this. We're keeping everything sanitized, but we're going to keep moving forward because people need homes. So, I mean, I hope that kind of gives you some insight. I know it's a longer answer to a question than you may have expected, but it's the truth. It's a fluid movement, and it's what's happening. My suggestion again, Janice, is to simply keep a tight relationship with the builder and your buyer's agent to help you out. Bill, do you have any thoughts on that from the lending?
I do. And guys, really the lending aspect, the whole focus this really is going to be regarding locking in your interest rate. Even though it's new construction, even though you're not closing until May, talk to your lender about doing an extended rate lock, because they can lock you out to up to 6 months. And if you qualify with that rate, even if that rate might be higher than what you currently want, I would highly recommend considering locking that rate, because we don't know what rates are going to do. And just last week, there was not basis point swings, but there was interest rate swings on the rate of upwards of 1% in one day. I mean, it was absolutely crazy, and that could blow a deal. So if you do qualify with one of the extended rate locks with the lender that you're working with, I would recommend getting your interest rate locked in as soon as possible. Today's a great day to do that if you haven't done that yet. To protect yourself, to protect your family and the property that you're buying. Very, very important.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. Now, let's get on to another question. Again, if you have some questions on your mind, or you simply want to share how you're reacting and how you're protecting your family during this pandemic, please let us know. But if you have a question about real estate or loans, that's what we're here for. Our intent is to go live at least a couple times a week, Bill and I, on Monday and Wednesday. I'll probably be back on Fridays just live to have a conversation and hear what's on your mind as well. But I do want you to know this is something that we plan on doing to ride this out and keep everybody updated as things come down. I can't create videos fast enough and get them edited and put out on YouTube quick enough with how fast this is going on. So this is the next best approach. So speaking of, Terry Beveridge, thank you so much. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly, because as you may know, I am a little country and I do speak sometimes a little too quick for my own health. But that said, I will do my best not to kill your name. So I apologize in advance, Terry. So I got the Terry part down. So Terry says, hey, Andrew, I like your channel. I'm a seller under contract. The buyers just tried to add an appraisal after a very clean home inspection. Isn't it too late to do so? It's a great question, Terry. In short, it really depends on the terms in the residential purchase agreement in that buyer's offer. In a lot of cases, yeah, you did tell me. Okay, beverage, right? But in a lot of cases, Terry, what you're looking at, like, it's very par for the course that an appraisal would automatically be part of the contingency in the contract. That's something that you and your listing agent should have identified with any contingencies in the contract. A home inspection is only one contingency in a contract. Like here in Las Vegas, Nevada, essentially there's 25 different contingencies in a purchase agreement, and then you can always add different contingencies via an addendum. So when you're saying an appraisal addendum, it makes me think the word addendum means that you're adding to a contract. If that's the case, Terry, please get with your listing agent, find out what's going on. But if a buyer is realistically getting a home loan to purchase yours, then they're going to have an appraisal. And it's fortunate that Bill's on camera with us today, because Bill can share that. A bank cannot lend or give more money than the appraised value of a home. So, Bill, do you have anything or thoughts that you'd like to share with Terry on this topic?
Well, it depends on what type of loan amount it is too, because a lot of times with VA, lenders nowadays are requiring an actual addendum to not supersede, but to actually take the place of the old VA mandatory clause. So I don't think there's anything unusual about doing that, but Andrew, you're the expert when it comes to contract law and all that, when it comes to these purchase agreements. But I have seen that quite a bit lately with most of our transactions where there's an addendums being done. kind of after the fact. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to me if an addendum is done after the fact, because in the purchase agreement itself, it gives you the opportunity to say, hey, we're opening up on day one. And in Las Vegas, we close homes all the time in like 30, 35 days. And part of the stipulation of a buyer's agent writing in the contingency periods in a contract, one is for buyer's due diligence, obviously, in which time the home inspection needs to take place, make any kind of repair negotiations possible. That's an example of a contingency that might be somewhere between 10 and 14 days as a normal thing. The second thing to consider then is, okay, how many days does the lender have to do an appraisal? As you know, in conversation with you, we typically write in 21 days for the appraisal to be due, and we're contingent on an appraisal for 21 days into contract. Then we look at the financing contingency of 23 days. I mean, those are four of kind of like the big trigger things right there. Yeah. But that said, in an actual addendum that's separate, unless you're reducing that price or trying to renegotiate the price with a seller, in Terry's case, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, to be honest, without knowing more about the situation. So Terry, I'm going to ask you to go back to your listing agent and have that conversation. I do see that you made a couple of more comments about, that it's a conventional loan putting down 25%. That's pretty solid, and that's pretty amazing. And then you said that I think they noticed that the original offer of $235,000 was changed to $240,000, and they didn't adjust their appraisal up to the $240,000. Okay, so it might be just trying to correct something. Maybe something went by. Terry, I would, again, please get with your listing agent in this case and ask them for some clarity on this so that you can get the best scoop in your unique situation. Without seeing all of this stuff, it's hard for me to know, and I'm not a real estate licensee of California either, so I don't want to give you a bum scoop. Just wanted to give you some things to ask your agent and to have a conversation with them. I hope that helps, Terry, and again, thanks for joining in. If you know someone else this can help, share the live stream. Again, Bill and I are planning on coming back at least on Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'll probably be coming back on Fridays at 9 a.m. as well, just to hear it out and see what I can do to help. Okay. Thanks, guys. Awesome advice. Thank you so much, Terry. Really, really appreciate that. Very kind. So here we go. We have another comment coming in. Let's see. We have, oh my goodness. And Terry, we thought that I messed up your name. Garasser1. Omega Racer. There we go. Give me a moment to put it together. It's Omega Racer 1. That's awesome. So just tuned in. I just purchased a home in December. Do you think interest rates will go down, and would it be worth refinancing soon? Bill, this one is all you, my friend.
Yeah. So what I would suggest doing is if you bought a home in December and you're thinking about potentially refinancing, don't lock today. If you do not need to lock today because you're purchasing, and if you don't need to lock today because you have to pay some type of debt off, I would recommend getting your application done, do your loan application, get everything fully underwritten, approved, get the appraisal done, get everything done and completed. So that way, when these rates, because what's going to happen is what my opinion is, and what all the experts are predicting is that when this kind of settles down a little bit and the markets begin to adjust accordingly, the interest rates will drop and the interest rates will go back down to levels where it might make sense for you to refinance. So what I'm recommending to all my clients who have not locked already, that didn't catch that small little window a couple weeks ago. If you have not locked, I myself am doing this as well for my own personal home, but you want to get everything in, approved, completed. So that way, when the rates do drop, you can lock, we can dock it, we can fund it and get it closed. So I would recommend being ready. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? If the rates don't actually drop, but at least you can be ready. You don't want to miss that if it does happen. So great question.
That's a very good question. So we'll have to just keep giving you some updates on Omega Racer as we move forward. Again, that's the intent of going live, is so that we can keep up to date. So if something were to change, then Bill can give us that heads up right there. Hope that answers your question. If you have any more, just let us know. Again, please share the live stream with other people. Let them know this is what we're doing and that we're here for you. We're going to keep going at this. Janice, I see that you said thanks for your advice. Hey, thanks for joining us, Janice. That's awesome. Morris D, let's get over. I see that you're asking a question here, a couple of them. So Morris, thank you for joining in. You tell us that you just signed a sales contract yesterday for an assisted living, I'm assuming. One, do you think there will be any change on the assisted living? And let's get to your next comment. Two, does the price of homes will lower down to the current situation. What is your recommendation, buying stock versus buying home? Okay, so you actually have 3 questions there. So I got you. So let's paraphrase those questions and let's take them in turn. The first one, do I think there'd be any change in assisted living facilities? In my humble opinion, probably not. The need is always there. We're in the wake of the silver tsunami, as I mentioned in the housing market predictions video for 2020. We have more people in the baby boomer generation than ever before, getting ready to start cresting onto land, essentially, as they come due and they start downsizing out of their homes and getting into assisted living facilities or independent living facilities. So if you're asking me, do I really think there's going to be any change in construction supply or demand there? Absolutely not. Bill, what do you think?
I think you're right, man. Before you even answered that, I was shaking my head. No, I don't think there's going to be any massive changes with assisted living. No.
Okay. So let me go back over here. Number 2. Do I think that the home prices will lower down due to the coronavirus or COVID? Do I think the price is going to come down? So this is a really charged question, and I got a lot of thoughts about this, and here's why. The coronavirus does not impact directly real estate or loans. It impacts the consumer's faith, the consumer's confidence, and the government's ability to respond in a way that is appropriate to handle the situation. In and of itself, that's not the effect. It's the cause that starts driving a ball into motion when we look at like causation and cause and effect type thought processes. So that's cause 1. Then what happens is people get fear, which everyone knows I'm a fan of saying fear is false evidence appearing real. Now, am I saying that the coronavirus is false evidence? Absolutely not. It's a very real thing, and it's killing a lot of people. It's infecting a lot of people. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. What I am saying here is it's how we choose to approach this as a people, how we come together by being stronger and better together than we are not, how we choose to think about the situation and our positivity. If we see a lot of people running out to buy toilet paper, we see a lot of people hoarding all the food in the stores. This doesn't bode well from a fear point, and that's why I bring it up, fear being false evidence appearing real. If we take that breath, hashtag JTAB, right? Just take a breath. Anyone that follows my videos knows I'm a fan of that one, and if you've worked with me personally in Vegas, you can probably think of several occasions I tell you the hashtag JTAB. But that said, that's what we got to do. We got to take a breath and reassess the situation calmly, clearly, logically, so that we can come together. If we did that, we would understand, look, what we got to do, number 1, and Bill's a Army veteran, so this will make a lot of sense. And anyone else out there is active duty or veteran, this is going to make a lot of sense. If we look at this from a strategic point of view, we need to gather our reconnaissance essentially, right? We need to understand what's happening, how this is infecting people, and the steps that we can take to protect ourselves. That's number 1. Number 2, the CDC and the World Health Organization has already told us a lot of things that we can do to protect ourselves, such as washing your hands. I hope you'd wash them anyways as a daily practice. Using sanitizer if you have access to it, or simply using alcohol or detergent. So, I mean, there's a lot of things in that regard and personal hygiene that we can do. Obviously, we shouldn't be going out in large social settings whenever a lot of people are sick. This is typical stuff here about how we respond to the flu season and cold seasons overall. So why is it anything different here from the base elements of how best to protect ourselves and our family? If you have that ability, number 3, to shelter in place or work from home, such as Bill is doing right now with his family. So, you know, the Clark County schools here in Nevada are closed. So they're homeschooling him and his wife, and they got to take care of their kids. And he's also helping people close on loans. So it's about taking stock of the situation. But we can't do that when we're in fearmonger mode. You put on the news, and I've seen a lot of different things on all the different networks. There's a lot of negativity out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's people saying, hey, this is a hoax. Hey, this isn't real. Hey, this is real. Hey, this is like, you know, everything's going to go into an apocalypse tomorrow. Look, just take a breath. Hashtag JTAB. Look, is the world coming to an end tomorrow? No. The world was here before us. It'll be here after us. And the people lived through far worse, hence like the bubonic plague. Let's get real. Let's be honest, and let's have a meaningful dialogue about it. Then let's start taking back into that strategy point of view and assessing what we need to do to protect ourselves, how we can go to the store, purchase what we need, not more than we need, purchase what we need, and how we can combine what we're looking for in between perishable foods and also non-perishable foods should we need to have a more reliable source of food going forward. You want to talk about things that are meaningful. You talk about your personal hygiene. If we want to talk about meaningful purchases that people could make, consider the very real fact. If this is an airborne illness, why don't we put air filtration devices in our home? If this is a situation that hand sanitizer helps, why not buy some of that? And speaking of that, I'm going to show you a little demonstration right here. This is my little hand sanitizer in my office. What I'm doing is what was advised to me to do by the doctors. And they said to me, since Andrew, you're in and out of a lot of homes, what I want you to do is every time you go in and every time you exit is to put hand sanitizer on your hands. And I want you to rub it on the inside of your nose like this, on the outside, and on the sides of your mouth. And the reason being is as I breathe now, anything that's airborne is being killed courtesy of this hand sanitizer. Now, I got to be honest, I've been doing this since this stuff was announced, I've been doing it for at least the last month. It does get a little bit irritating initially, but you'll get over it if you keep doing it. But it is something that you want to keep presence of mind about. So Terry, I know that's like, look, you hit a really hard topic, and getting back to it about will home prices going down, going back to cause and effect and everything. If people allow fear to motivate them and to stoke them and to allow them to make poor decisions, yes, but it will impact us because of the coronavirus. It impacts us because the investors are already losing confidence and they started getting fearful. And that's why we started seeing changes in the stock market was a fear gut jerk reaction as opposed to a stabilized approach. That's number two, is how the stock market does anything. But the stock market is not the real estate industry, nor is it the mortgage industry. So we got to take a look at why exactly could it impact real estate prices or issues with mortgages going forward. It's very simple. The reason would be is you have massive corporations that start laying off people. It's not an issue of how many people are going to get sick due to the coronavirus here. It's more of an issue of how many people are going to be gainfully employed to be able to pay their bills. And that's the real thing we need to be talking about, is how we come together to help people that need the money. Look, if the Trump administration passes this economic stimulus that they're talking about right now, don't send me $3,000. Please don't. Please don't send me money as a small business. I'm not the one that needs it right now. I make sure that the way I manage my business, that I'm okay and that I will be okay for a little bit. If a time in the future comes up that I do need assistance, I'll raise my paw right there in the sky and say, hey, I need some help now. But right now, don't send it to me. Let's focus on the small business. Let's not give trillions of dollars to major corporations. Let's put the money in the people's pocket that need it, but only those that need it, not the ones that don't need it. Let's look at ramping up production of medical supplies and testing kits and stuff like that. That's what's meaningful and how we can keep people employed. In short, Morris, it's not so much the virus. It's not so much the situations. It's how we as humans respond, and it's how corporations respond. If they're getting all this trillions of dollars potentially, and they're laying people off, got to ask yourself why and where did the money go? That's my 2 cents on that. You got anything, Bill?
No, I just wanted to hit on Terry's other question that she had there at 926. I think
At 926?
Yeah, she had a question
Before we do that, Bill, let's just hit the last third question with Morris. Would you like to take that on since it's more of a financial thing, buying stock versus buying a house?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a stock expert by any means. When it comes to housing is definitely more predictable than the stock market, at least from my own experience. You just got to ask yourself why you're buying it. Are you buying it? It depends on the situation. Are you buying it as an investment? Are you buying it for retirement? Or are you buying a home to live in? If you're buying a home to live in and you can qualify and the payment is something you're comfortable with, it's always a good time to buy. It just depends on the reason that you're purchasing the home. That's what I always kind of coach my clients and talk to my clients about. It just depends on why. If you're looking to buying an investment property and investment rates are really, really high, hey, maybe let's hold off for a few months and see what happens. But if you're looking to move because you got relocated for work, rates are really good. If you qualify, then absolutely buy a home, So I guess you just got to kind of figure out what the reason is that you're buying the property.
It's a great point. And on just one last topic on that, right? It's the same thing that I talk about with our home buyers and sellers all the time. Ultimately, the best time to buy a house or sell a house is when the time makes sense to you in your life for the reasons that are important to you. One thing we know about real estate markets and the one thing we know about economics is that it will always go up, down, and all around. What doesn't change is where you are in your life and what's important to you for the reasons that are important to you. In other words, to Bill's point, if you're going to hold a primary residence, you're going to have a roof over your head or the other. We as humans we got to have shelter, right? So you can either own that roof or you can rent that roof. The choice is yours. So Bill, you said 926 is where we want to go to next, Omega Racer?
Yes, give me 1 second.
There we go. This one?
Negative. I think you already hit on that. Talking about the one at 926 from Terry. She was talking about, we were talking about the new.
We had several coming in at the same minute marker. Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So Terry, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. So Terry, on that question, I mean that regardless of who you're using lender-wise, with the builder's lender, I would go in there and lock in your interest rate, because the thing is if the rates go from being in the high threes, low fours, mid fours, wherever you're at, to all of a sudden 5.5%, maybe 6%, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, even that little bit of a nudge could push you over maybe even being able to afford or qualify for the home. Not to mention being able to get a better rate now. So I would look at locking now, just to kind of see what your options are and get everything in black and white and kind of weigh out the risk. Because if you don't weigh out the risk in front of you, I kind of just get out a piece of paper, old school, and I write down the positives and the negatives, right, of both, and just see which one I want to do. Most of the time, my clients, when it comes to long-term locks right now in this volatile market, I'm recommending if today you can lock and you're qualified, then I would absolutely look at doing that. Because the last thing you want to do is in the very last minute not qualify.
And Terry just chimed in at 9:37 there that she or he had a 3.75.
Cool.
Do you have any thoughts about that? Were they locked?
That's great.
That's great for what's going on right now.
Yeah, for what's going on right now. I mean, that's a good rate, man. I mean, it's historically that's phenomenal. I mean, there was a couple weeks ago where rates were lower, but I mean that was a window of like a day or two, So that is a very good interest rate, and as long as you're comfortable with that payment, then I absolutely would lock that.
Okay, and Terry, to follow that thought, hang on a second, Terry. There we go. I thought the government was saying there was going to be a rate drop to stimulate the economy. It goes back to what we were talking about before about the Fed cutting the rate.
Yep.
And these are the questions that are meaningful. And I mean, this is the stuff that's in a lot of our mind's eye. Bill, this is definitely all you again, my friend.
Okay. So yeah, Terry, that's obviously the federal funds rate. The Federal Reserve dropped the rate to 0%, but their target rate of 0 to 0.25%. Is great for the economy. It definitely helps stimulate things, but it does not directly affect mortgage rates. It'd be great if it did, but that affects home equity lines of credit. That affects the credit cards. That affects things like that from the bank standpoint of what they're using to lend to each other. It does not actually directly affect the consumer, especially when it comes to mortgages. They are looking at, we are seeing what people are recommending, and what the experts are saying is rates probably between now and the time this whole thing is past us, because it will pass. It's not here forever. Between now and then, the interest rates will drop again. But we don't know how much. It could be right down to where you're at now. 3.75 is great. And if you can lock that today, I would absolutely do that. Okay.
And Terry said, yeah, I have a 375 not locked and credit score of over 800. So pretty good stuff. So you're absolutely going to get the best rates no matter what happens here, Terry. So that's congratulations on that.
And Terry, something to think about too with extended rate locks, there's always a float down option. So, or there should be. So when you talk to your lender, talk to them about doing the float down. What has to happen in that case? Typically, if the interest rates are 0.25% or better at the time of closing, a couple weeks before, you can drop your rate down to the current market rate. So I would absolutely look at locking that in.
Hey, Terry, thank you for joining us. Greatly appreciate the wonderful questions. I saw Zandria 20 hit us up asking if we'll talk about down payment assistance programs currently in escrow with an FHA loan. Zandria, thank you for joining in. Bill, finance, please take it.
Yeah, so this one is hyper specific to the area in which you live, because every area's got different down payment assistance programs. Here in Nevada, we have a lot of them. There's some great ones. There's one that just ended, which was a phenomenal program, but the money got used up pretty quickly and it's gone. But there is a lot of other things that are available. So Zandria, if you want to share with a little bit where you're at, where your market is. If you're here in Nevada, I can go over all the details, but if you're not, I would just recommend reaching out to somebody in your local market to find out what's available.
Okay, so if I don't know if Zandria is still with us or not, but if she comments, then obviously we can hit it up. So just in general, I know that you and I've had a lot of conversations here locally about what the Home is Possible loans are doing, what the Nevada Housing Division is doing. Why don't you set the stage a little bit and just share some of what's happening now and where you think this is going? Oh, by the way, she says she's in Oklahoma, Bill, if you want to go ahead and hit that.
Oklahoma, nice. So yeah, so we actually do financing across the United States. I do have a team that can handle anything across the country, but Oklahoma, I'm not an expert by any means on that market, but typically FHA down payment assistance programs, typically those interest rates are not set by the individual lenders like with regular FHA financing loans. They're set by the individual programs, whatever it is that you're going through. Like here in Nevada, there's the Home is Possible program, which is great, but that interest rate is set by the Nevada Housing Division. And the Nevada Housing Division, typically with these programs, is the more money you would like to get for the down payment assistance, typically the higher the interest rate. Because if you're looking at wanting to get the lowest rate possible and also get down payment assistance, it's probably not going to happen. It's some type of a trade-off. You're going to either get one or the other, either a really, really low rate or some assistance to buy the house. So I hope that helps.
Hey, thanks for the great question. I see Morris chiming in. Morris, thank you. Do I need to fill out an appraisal contingency form? My broker has sent me a sales contract form only. It's a great question, Morris. Here in Las Vegas, Nevada, what it is the appraisal contingency is actually built into a 10-page offer. So, hang on. You say that we have put... Hang on, let me get over here so I can update and better answer the question. We have put in the appraisal deadline in the sales contract, but I didn't fill any appraisal contingency form. So depending on how your forms are structured in your state, get with your buyer's agent on this. Here in Nevada, it's right there in black and white that you do put in an appraisal deadline. You also put in that the sale is contingent upon the appraised value. If at some point it comes in less, then a renegotiation needs to ensue. Essentially, with the renegotiation, the seller can drop the price. The buyer can come up to the agreed upon sales price out of pocket the difference, or you can do and meet halfway, essentially by going up half, the seller coming down half. Obviously, from a buyer's standpoint, the best thing that could happen would be for the seller to drop it. There are a lot of sellers that do understand that, just from my real estate experiences, that a buyer can't get more home loan than their appraised value, and a lot of them will drop it. But that being said, every negotiation is different. Every situation is different. Morris, that's a fantastic question. Please get up with your buyer's agent about that and make sure that you're clear on how the appraisal process works. And better yet, after you have that conversation with your buyer's agent, have that conversation with your mortgage loan officer as well to better understand both sides of it. They're working as a team, as part of the village to help you buy your new home. Nevada Trails and Trucking, what up? Nevada Trails, well, you're definitely in our stomping grounds, and Bill's in the Southwest Las Vegas. I'm in Northwest Las Vegas. We know all about Nevada Trails, and welcome. I'm glad that you're here joining us too. Zandria says, thanks, guys. Appreciate your reply. Hey, Zandria, thank you for joining us. Greatly appreciated. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually wind this down. We've been live for coming up on 38 minutes. Bill and I will be back again, 9 a.m. Pacific time, come on Wednesday. And that's kind of our game plan, unless Bill has any availability on Fridays. I know it's pretty tight for a schedule. So we're looking to try to do this, help people out as we move forward through what's happening right now and get these questions answered for you guys. I really appreciate everybody that's been here today. If you want to actually come up on screen with Bill and I, please send me an email directly. I put the information in the description below, Andrew@AndrewFinneyTeam.com. Subject line, please pay attention. That way I know it's happening. Subject line, next live stream. If you want to be on, next live stream at AndrewFinneyTeam.com. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. Greatly appreciate your time, good sir. And to all, let's make it today a terrific and positive day full of love, joy, and hope. Seek out somebody that you can help today and put a smile on their face, and let's keep going. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.